Just make sure Kate's in there.
Do you want me to send you just the email?
How do we do live on here?
Okay, I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, we're on.
Bye.
Hey guys! So we're live doing our first introductory lecture here, so bear with us a little while because we're just getting live on Instagram as well. Hang on a second.
Water, anything, tea.
All good. All good.
Actually, might
Handy that we're in the
I
kitchen.
might fetch myself one glass of water.
Okay, I can't work out the live here, so... If you don't mind sharing the live into a couple of groups before we get started, that'd be awesome. I'm going to see if I can share it from here. Today we'll be talking about the topic of solutions for a dangerous environment from this book, the Scientology Handbook. And we really want to promote you guys taking advantage of doing the free online courses. There are free online courses for all 19 chapters in this book. So we're going to be promoting that. Let me just see if I can sort this out. Minor technical issue. And I've got guests with me here today, so introduce yourself, guys.
Okay, my name's Scott Milton.
And I'm Kate Wackley, Charlie's other half.
Hey.
Scott's my flatmate.
I'm his hero.
And his hero.
Yeah, nice.
And his hero.
So guys, if you have questions for us, drop a comment and we'll get to them probably at the end of the lecture. Again, we're going to be talking about solutions for a dangerous environment. I think you all can agree that right now we're in at least what seems to be a very dangerous environment, so we want to give you some practical tools to be able to combat that, stay positive and do everything you can to make the best of the situation we're in. Okay, so I can see here we're live. Oh! Greg can see all three of us. Thanks, bro.
Hi, Greg.
I'm just going to try to share this in a couple of groups because... Here we go. Start a watch party? No. I don't even know how to do it. Forget that. Oh, Michelle's here. Rahila's here. Look at this, guys.
Yay.
Thanks for joining us. We've never done this before, so we're like totally unexperienced. So here we go. The Scientology Handbook, and the chapter is Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. Probably should have had this prepped beforehand.
There it is.
Can we explain our
input?
Our input.
Yeah, so Scott and Kate have roles.
We have roles.
So do you want to introduce your roles?
Okay, so Kate is
I'm going to be
the Human Dictionary.
the human dictionary, the talking dictionary.
And I'm going to be giving examples. So Charlie's going to ask for a few examples and things, and then I'll share a few examples.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
I've worked out how to do this, so just give me 1 second. You guys talk away.
Excelente. How's it going, Kate?
Great, thank you. Fantastic
Excellent.
Sunday. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. We are. Kitchen's nice and clean. Well done, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. I still can't do it.
Well, let's just do it on this one.
Yeah, let's fire away with the first.
Alright guys, we're going to get started here. So, here's how this is going to work. We're basically going to give an introductory talk, and the way we're going to do that is I'm going to read you a little bit from the book, which is by the author L. Ron Hubbard, and then we're going to give some examples. So, first of all, Kate,
Yeah.
can you help us by... We're going to be reading a little article here called The Dangerous Environment. Why don't you define those words, dangerous and environment, and what that means?
Okay, so dangerous, this is the Oxford English Dictionary, saying able or likely to cause harm or injury.
And what
But
about...
we have another...
That sounds good.
I quite like this though. Likely to cause problems or to have adverse consequences.
Ooh, I like.
Where does the word come from?
It comes from Old French, danger, Old French, dangereux, and English. Oh no, there we go, and then that becomes dangerous.
What does it mean? Danger. Oh yeah,
Danger,
danger.
danger.
That was the word danger. And then
Danger.
environment, please.
Okay, one moment.
Guys, we couldn't
Give it
share
from
the
my
feed,
head.
so if a couple of you are able to share this live group, this live feed into a couple of the groups. There's a couple of Scientology TV fans and Scientology Tools for Life. If someone can share this feed into one of those groups, that would be fantastic.
Okay, so environment. So the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operates. The setting or conditions in which a particular activity is carried on.
Good. And derivation, where the word comes from?
So this one comes from. It doesn't actually tell us on this. We don't have a derivation on this one.
Check in another in the other dictionary. Okay, guys. So I think we can all agree that we're in right now what at least seems to be a very dangerous environment. So the purpose of this lecture is we're going to do three things. One is we're going to explain what that means, what a dangerous environment is, which we're in the process of doing. Two, we're going to explain why it is, who creates the dangerous environment, who is making the environment seem more dangerous than it is, and why. And three, at the end of this lecture, we're going to give you some simple practical steps that you can use from home in your day-to-day life to be able to combat this dangerous environment and make it calmer. So, here's our first reading from the book, okay? L. Ron Hubbard says, "Many people are not only convinced that the environment is dangerous, but that it is steadily growing more so. For many, it's more of a challenge than they feel up to. The fact of the matter is, however, that the environment is made to appear much more dangerous than it actually is. A great number of people are professional, dangerous environment makers. This includes professions which require a dangerous environment for their existence, such as the politician, the policeman, the newspaperman, the undertaker, and others. These people sell a dangerous environment. That is their mainstay. They feel that if they did not sell people on the idea the environment is dangerous, they would promptly go broke. So it is in their interest to make the environment far more dangerous than it is." So, there's our introduction, right? And it's talking about the environment made to seem more dangerous than it is in reality. So now, a couple of examples, Scott Milton.
Okay, I'm on the hot seat. So, an example of a dangerous environment.
An example of an environment, because obviously there's something going on right now, right? Like this virus is not, it's real.
Okay, so I'll give it, we've got really, so let me give you an example. Okay, so sometimes in the newspaper you have reporters who kind of embellish the story, and so you can end up feeling like there's danger close to you or within your area when it's just like a situation with a very particular thing, but it's kind of embellished to be kind of all around you or etc.
Yeah, I saw one this morning.
Did you?
Rumour lines. That's the other thing. Oh, this might last a year. But someone said it somewhere, but it's a rumour.
Yeah.
It's not actually the true information.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to a source that gives you the true information, then things don't seem as dangerous. You're like, okay, there is some danger there, but that's the actual danger, not all this.
Yeah.
That appears to be the case.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great example. Should we move on to the next section?
Yep.
So hopefully
Let's do
that's
it.
helped you guys. That's the first thing we try to do is define what the dangerous environment is, and specifically how it's being made to seem more dangerous than it is. I think someone just commented we should be 2 meters apart. We're all quarantined in the same household. This is my wife, and this is my flatmate Scott. Him and his wife, the four of us, are all in the same household. We've been self-isolating for
2 weeks.
2
We
weeks.
are a 4-people isolation pod.
Yeah,
Don't
we're
worry,
not
we're
used to being
sticking
in
to the
isolation.
rules.
We're definitely sticking to the rules, and it's important that you do too. We'll get onto that, but I think the government advice is actually really sane.
Yeah, it's really good.
Exercise
Really
once
sensible.
a day, only go out to get your essentials, stay home, self-isolate. So we're definitely all for that, and we're following the laws of the land. Second thing we wanted to go over today: who makes the dangerous environment? Who makes it seem as dangerous as it seems to be, and why do they make it so? The answer to that is what we call the merchants of chaos. So first we're going to define merchant and chaos. Over to you, Kate.
Okay, so merchant is a person who deals in something unpleasant.
Really?
I thought it was a salesperson.
It is a salesperson, but it also has a similar definition, or another definition, a person who deals in something unpleasant. But also you have a person or company involved in wholesale trade, especially when dealing with foreign countries or supplying goods to a particular trade.
Oh.
And the origin is from Latin mercare, to trade.
To trade.
Okay.
So, that concept, but you might trade in something unpleasant.
So it's actually got a connotation of negativity already.
Yeah, a person who deals in something unpleasant, a merchant of death.
So you guys got that? A merchant is a person that deals with something unpleasant, and a tradesperson, someone that sells something. So you already get the idea of what this might be, the merchant of chaos. So L. Ron Hubbard goes on to describe, there are those who could be called the merchants of chaos. These are people who want an environment to look very, very disturbing. These are people who gain some sort of advantage, they feel, if the environment is made to look more threatening. An obvious example can be seen in newspapers. There are no good news stories. Newspapermen shove the environment in people's faces and say, look, it's dangerous. Look, it's overwhelming. Look, it's threatening. They not only report the most threatening bits of news, but also sensationalize it, making it worse than it is. What more do you want as proof of their intention? This is the merchant of chaos. He is paid to the degree that he can make the environment threatening. To yearn for good news is foolhardy in a society where the merchants of chaos reign. I'll just read that last bit again so you understand. To yearn, to look for good news, to want good news, is foolhardy, is silly, in a society where the merchants of chaos rule.
Yeah,
so,
dangerous.
Scott, it gives an example here of a news reporter. What else would be an example of a merchant of chaos?
A merchant of chaos. I mean, taking it back to what Kate said about rumours, like, I don't know, the first kind of like few days of the corona kind of reaching the UK, I think all the sanitation little pumper things went, and then randomly, like, I don't know who did it, but the toilet paper just went wild, and then like the next day there was no toilet paper in the main stores. But obviously, I mean, maybe it is, but it's not a normal desanitizing type thing.
Yeah.
But for some reason, toilet paper went on lockdown, and so
The
yeah, I guess there was that,
lost
like,
our
it went around the
toilet
internet with all these memes about it, and like no toilet paper, and then I think even more people.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah, mass hysteria, exactly.
And you gave a good example earlier of, like, in business what a merchant of chaos could be. Like, who's the person causing it that then profits from it?
Okay, so I think that's either like, okay, so say you've got like a news story, like behind that you'd find a news reporter who kind of has the idea that by having more bad news that it will sell more papers, as opposed to good news. So that's why there's not a lot of good news in newspapers.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you the idea that they're obviously, embellished or slightly cited in that way.
Yeah, you have someone that, spreads bad rumours in business to crash a stock to profit from that crash.
Right.
That was the example that you gave earlier.
Yeah, like you got like someone on the stock market and they're like, okay, I'm gonna get my mate over here, I'm gonna, I'm gonna get him to sell everything, and then I can make profit off that later or whatever by crashing the stock.
Yeah.
Obviously that happens over and over again, and that is stock and trade itself, I think, to some degree.
So we're talking here about the merchants of chaos for those that have just joined us, and just so you know, we're just reading snippets from the section of this book. So if you're interested in what we're talking about and you want to find out more, we're going to leave a link where you can do all of these courses online totally free. The link's scientology.org/courses, and you're able to do 19 segments of course, which cover various different topics like marriage, communication, raising of children, and the one we're talking about today is solutions for a dangerous environment. Okay.
Good courses.
So I'm going to go back to the book here.
Okay.
Next little quote. The truth of the matter, however, is this. The environment is not as dangerous ever as it is made out to appear.
Interesting.
So even in times like this, where things obviously are threatening and dangerous, he says, the truth of the matter, however, is this. The environment is not as dangerous ever as it is made to appear. Reassuring, right?
It is reassuring.
Then he says, it is not to the advantage of those who get their income, appropriations, or public interest from the amount of disturbance to make a peaceful environment. Now, Kate, we might want to clear
Yeah,
the
do you
word
want to just check
appropriation.
appropriation?
Yeah.
A sum of money allocated officially for a particular use. So, for example, like the government will give appropriations to particular
That makes
contractors
sense.
or whatever to do certain things in that country.
Yeah. So I'll read that again. It is not to the advantage of those who get their income appropriations or public interest from the amount of disturbance to make a peaceful environment. So what would that mean, Scott?
So to make it okay, I mean this is kind of like a tie between the two last examples. So I think at one point I remember watching this it was one of these ads on YouTube, and it came up with this like old lady, and then basically it was her daughter speaking about how she was worried about her mum getting lost or something like that. And so then they were using that as a medium to basically communicate to people that older people should get like chipped with their like identity and stuff like that, to the medical records, which I guess on an individual basis someone could do, but for the mass public it kind of made it like, you know, it's this graphic story about this woman had gotten lost, and then like they couldn't help her or the people that found her couldn't help her because they didn't know who she is.
Yeah.
I doubt many hospitals have an ID checker like that, but obviously that is to promote that more and more people do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then based on that, obviously, like I know a lot of good older people, and
Yeah.
they are safe generally, and you know they generally got that stuff covered. So
I think that's almost the biggest like message, is that if you look around, the majority of people are good. Like we're just trying to highlight here that there's a minority of people that are trying to make the environment look more dangerous than it is. We're not trying to say there's not a threat right now. There's definitely stuff going on, but people profit from a dangerous environment. It's those people that we want to look out for. If you look across society, like people are following the rules. There's maybe a vast minority that are not, but people are following the rules. They're trying to do the right thing to protect each other, and that's the vast majority of people. So I go back to this.
yeah.
Anything that tends to pacify or bring a calmed environment is resisted by the vested interest that backs a disturbed environment.
I've got a good example for that.
Pacify?
Pacify.
Thanks for joining us, guys. You can comment
peace.
and give us feedback. It's the first time we've done this, so love your feedback.
Yeah, so pacify, bring peace, quell the anger, agitation, or excitement of.
Bring peace. Okay, so he says, anything that tends to pacify, bring peace, or bring a calmed environment is resisted by the vested interest that backs a disturbed environment.
Good.
It's very profit driven, isn't it?
I've got a good example.
Example, Scott?
Okay, so the Prime Minister of this country, at least, United Kingdom,
Yeah.
has been generally doing these like, you know, every other day or every day he does like a press, I guess he does like...
Yeah, it's like a press conference.
Yeah, it's like a press
He's
conference.
Updating the country.
It's just updating the country, and I think when he does it, he's very informative. The people...
The chief medical office is there, like medical
really
officers
good.
there.
They're really positive, and they're working like they're briefing the public on how they're moving through it, and they obviously have their wits about them because they know exactly what they're talking about. And it is reassuring because it's like, we're gonna get through this. Okay, guys, we need to unite as a country. Do X, Y, and Z. It's really simple. Blah blah. And straight away after they do their kind of main little intro bit, I guess they do question answer. And then you can see that some of the media stuff, some of the reporters,
A bit harsher.
instantly go into the negative.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And make it again more unsafe, or try and degrade what they're saying that they're doing constructively to resolve the current epidemic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a good. You can see that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's actually quite a good one because you get it unedited.
Yeah,
It's an unedited thing, so you don't get the opinion, the rumor side of it.
that's right.
You just get information.
Yeah, these are the statistics
Which
we
is-
found on this. This is where this is at. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing about blah.
Because we're not saying you shouldn't stay up to date with things, or you shouldn't have information, but
Yeah.
you've got to get it from the right source.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the point.
Well put. So here's the final little quote from this section about the Merchant of Chaos. He says, "Yet disturbance and chaos fold up in the face of truth. It is lies which keep the universe continuously disturbed. The introduction of truth into a society would produce a calmer environment with less disturbance, and therefore less that could be swindled out of that society by merchants of chaos." I'm going to read that again because I think it's so important. He says, you want to clear a word?
I want to tell you what swindled means.
Ah, yeah, good.
I think most people probably know, but you never know.
We'll just clear up the word and then we'll... Mandeep
So-
Birdie's with us. There's a lot.
Hi,
It's
Mandeep.
freezing on the computer a little bit, guys. Hey, Rochelle, I can see you with us. Chris Cavillums, Kafir, hey, Rona Bowles. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Keep leaving comments.
Okay, so swindled is use deception to deprive someone of money or possessions. So, or obtain something fraudulently.
And where did it come from? The origin?
It comes from German. Schwindler, extravagant maker of schemes.
Ooh.
Tell lies.
Swindler. Also tell lies.
So here it is again, guys, that sentence, that paragraph. He says, yet disturbance and chaos fold up in the face of truth. It is lies which keep the universe continuously disturbed. The introduction of truth into a society would produce a calmer environment with less disturbance and therefore less that could be swindled out of that society by merchants of chaos.
Nice.
Very interesting.
Good, huh?
Nice.
Yeah, very good.
Should we move on to the next bit?
Let's do it.
So guys, that's all been a bit rough because we've been talking about a dangerous environment and merchants of chaos and oh, wow, it seems so threatening and horrible. But the good news is there's a solution. And we're going to give you, there's actually in this chapter, it's called Ways to Lessen the Threat. There are actually 7 techniques that he gives in order to lessen the threat. And I've read through all of them. They're all something you can do from home. They're all very, very simple, especially if you've got a couple of people at home together.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity to do this. I'm going to give you 3. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just to give you a little preamble, he says, an individual's health level, sanity level, activity level, and ambition level are all monitored by his concept of the dangerousness of the environment.
So true.
Very interesting.
So it's by his concept of the dangerousness of the environment. So it's your perception of dangerousness and how dangerous the environment is that monitors health level, sanity level, activity level, and ambition level.
I've definitely seen that, yeah.
There are real areas of danger in the environment. He says, I'll say it again. There are real levels of danger in the environment, but there are also areas being made to seem more dangerous than they really are. Then he goes on to describe what these techniques for making the environment calmer are doing, in essence. He says, a number of simple procedures can help a person increase his command over his environment. The master question of all these techniques is, what part of the environment isn't threatening? So he gives that in quotations. The master question of all these techniques is, what part of the environment isn't threatening?
Right.
If one can get him to differentiate and find out there are some parts of the environment that aren't threatening, he will make considerable gain. Example.
Okay. I mean, this is
I
like
just
a really,
put you on the
this is
spot.
like
didn't I?
a
It's
simple one.
it's like, example, go!
I don't know. You know, sometimes when you're walking around and then all of a sudden someone actually says like hello, some random person in the street,
Yeah.
or you know, you walk into a shop and it's not someone that's just like obviously really not happy to be doing that job or whatever, but they're like interested in you and like they are kind of talking about the the good weather we've got on or this or that,
Yeah.
and that makes the environment, I find, always more better, more safer and stuff like that, because you feel like you've got people around you. So I think when you have more of that going on in your environment, it creates a more uplifting environment. Also, you feel safe to go out into it and do things and stuff like that. And I think one can always also create that for themselves by, for example, if you don't have that in your environment, then start asking people when you go to their shops, how you doing,
Yeah.
and how, whatever.
Yeah, start creating it.
Yeah, because then you start to create that kind of safer environment because you feel like you've got people around you as opposed to being isolated.
True.
You want to add anything to that, Kate?
I think also you have it a lot with social media these days, where you can feel if you're following the wrong people, for example, you'll
Yes.
get this feeling of like I don't know.
You're
Like,
scrolling
suddenly-
and then all of a sudden you just feel worse and worse.
Yeah.
I'm not skinny, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Yeah, or someone gets loads of hate, so suddenly you don't.
Yes.
Before you were like, I'm gonna put all these videos out there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna expand my business using social media, and suddenly you see all this like bad reaction that someone else got. And
Could
you're
happen
like,
to us, guys. Could happen to us.
It might be happening right now.
we can't even see the comments, so it could be happening right now on this video.
Turn it off.
But I think it stops people from reaching for their goals as much, and
I
that's what he's
completely agree.
saying. Like that appearance of it being dangerous,
Yeah.
I guess
or
you,
more dangerous than it actually is.
yeah, you know you've got that like, okay, I don't have this with my wife now, but when we first got together, the previous place that she had lived, the person that she was with, or the people that she, sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry, Charlie got my face. Okay, so she was living with, in a different flat, but this was before we got together. And the guy that was with the girl in that flat used to always go and pick her up from the station. So then when
Oh, yeah.
Chloe came and moved in with me, she was like, oh, can you pick me up at the station? I was like, I can, but why don't we all do that every day?
Careful what you say, Hipstop. People might not like this.
Anyway, it was just the point of like that kind of thing, like we all have an influence one another. So that person made her feel, I guess, to one another, that the fact that the guy had to go and pick up the girl from the station made her feel that it was also unsafe for her.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
So then I disabused her of this idea and made it completely safe for her, so it's not an issue.
Hope you guys like that example and that doesn't get us into hot water with the ladies. So, okay, guys, I want to give you 3 of the 7 practical tips from this book. Again, what we're really encouraging people to do here is if they find this content interesting, log on to Scientology.org/courses and you can get all the information that we're talking about. We're just taking some parts of the course. We're going to give you 3 of 7 tips here. If you want to find out more, you can do the courses totally free. There's no obligations. You just have to leave your email address and you'll get all 7 tips. So, which ones are we going to give?
Okay, so...
Number 2.
Okay, this is an interesting one because at this time you want to stay informed, but he says, I'll read it. Number 2, don't read the newspaper. This is very simple. Tell the person, don't read the newspaper for 2 weeks and see if you don't feel better. If he doesn't read the newspaper for 2 weeks, of course he will feel better. Then tell him, this is another quote, now read the newspaper for a week, and at the end of that week you will find you feel worse. Then make up your mind whether or not you ought to pay any attention to the newspapers. This is back to him. This could be proposed to the person as a simple experiment. It isn't even an extensive experiment. As a matter of fact, it is cheaper not to buy a newspaper than to buy them. This is a simple action, but a very effective one, which can markedly change a person's outlook on life.
Very good.
Don't read the newspaper. So now, in this day and age, it's not just the newspaper, but we're bombarded by the news in many ways. So what other ways are we hit with the news, for example?
If you have an iPhone, they automatically give you a news feed.
Oh yeah,
And I
that's
just
right.
realised mine just started working again, and it just keeps popping up. But with the rumour stuff, like this morning, it was like,
Headlines.
oh, we're going to
Right,
be
the
in this
headlines.
for a year. And I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Headlines, yeah.
Headlines.
Yeah,
I think
headlines.
there's a lot of different mediums that you're kind of bombarded with. I think like you've got social media. Obviously, they're great for the purpose of actually socializing and being able to keep in touch with people that you otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
So I think they're great for that. And I think they're great in terms of keeping people together and in the loop and stuff like that. But there is advertising, and sometimes you've got some people on Facebook or Instagram, for example, who are a bit of a merchant of chaos, or who, I can't remember who it was, but I remember seeing this person, it was always bad news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes where you'd experience the same thing, you're just like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But it was made to feel bad, you know what I mean?
I think also like
So cutting that off,
Yeah.
kind of like, actually, it does de-stress a bit.
Yeah,
You know
totally.
what?
Totally.
Yeah, it's true.
I think like earlier, like in this time, with what's happening right now in the world, you probably do want to stay informed as to what's happening, but they mentioned earlier, like our kind of religious way of finding out is to watch the Prime Minister's speeches every day.
Yeah.
You got the Prime Minister, I think you've also got the Deputy Chief Medical Officer and the Chancellor. And that just gives you it from source, and you can watch it. It's probably like 30, 40 minutes, and it's not kind of embellished, and it just gives you the information as to what's happening. If you were to like read the news for several hours a day, you'd probably find it pretty depressing. So,
Yeah.
practical piece of advice number 1, don't read the newspaper. What else are we doing?
Okay, let's do this one.
Or let's do,
Because that could be appropriate right now.
I want to kind of stay in the home.
Yeah, it's true.
No, we already did that.
Okay, I'm going to give you another one that we can't really give an example for, but it is something that he says you can do either in a pair or by yourself. And this is basically a process that you can do either by yourself or with someone else. I'm going to read it to you. He says, this is number 1, find something that isn't being a threat. When a person gets too upset or confused, one can have him look around his environment and find something that isn't being a threat to him. Carry on doing this until the person is very happy or relieved and has had a realization about himself, the environment, or life in general. I'm going to read that again just to make sure you guys get it. So he says, when a person gets too upset or confused, one can have him look around his environment and find something that isn't being a threat to him. Carry on doing this until the person is very happy or relieved and has had a realization about himself, the environment, or life in general.
Okay, good.
He goes on to say, a person can also use this technique directly on himself. For example, an individual can be in his office and very worried about something. He may be sitting at his desk with papers piling up. Everything seems to be in a high uproar and he feels completely overwhelmed. The person himself ought to be able to look at the papers on his desk, in brackets, the source of the threat, and find something about them that is not a threat. By making such a discovery, the threat will balance out.
Very good.
Like it.
I like it.
Final piece of advice.
Oh, I like this one. This is great for this time period.
Okay. The only thing is it's kind of like changing your work and stuff. Try this one.
Okay, you go for it.
Okay, so this is our final piece of practical advice for you guys out there to make, to make the environment, ways to lessen the threat.
Love it.
Final way to lessen the threat. And Scott, I want some examples on this one.
Okay, I'm ready.
Pressure.
7, knocking off things that upset one. There is another action which consists of simply having the person stop doing things or associating with people that upset him. One could say, knock off some of the things in your life that make you upset. Who upsets you? Well, don't talk to them for a while. What activities leave you feeling worse? Well, just don't do them for a while. What things in the environment aren't really a threat to you? All right. Have you got some of these? Fine. Associate with those. Pay more attention to them. This will benefit the person... Sorry, I'll give you that again. This will benefit the person more than one might imagine.
Great. Okay.
I think that's a good one, isn't it?
That's a very good one. I don't know, like let's say you've got a friend you've had for many years
Yeah.
and you're spending a lot of time with this friend, and then let's say your friend gets into a bad relationship with some guy, and then she's like super miserable all the time and kind of complains about her boyfriend all the time. You've kind of tried to help her, like, you know, try to help her what she can do, blah blah. Anyway, she wants to stick it out with this guy, but she's like a bag of bad news every time she talks to you. So what you could do to loosen that load a little bit is, I guess you could kind of like put a little bit of distance there, just so that you can rebuild yourself a little bit, and you know, so that you're not taking on that stress yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe then you'll actually be able to help her even better, having been away from it.
Yeah, totally.
So something like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Any example, anything you want to add there?
I think some people, you know, when you ask some people for advice and you'll get something really positive that encourages you to do things, and other people you'll ask and you'll be like, I'm not sure that advice is going to actually assist me.
Yeah.
And I feel like and sometimes it's a bit of a dig. Like this little, like, if you ever feel like that, if you come out of a conversation, you feel a bit weird, that's usually a bad sign for me.
Very good point.
Because he also says, guys, like, knocking off things that upset one, like, just be self-aware and audit as in analyze what you're doing and whether it's making you feel better or worse. Like, today, we all had lunch together, and Scott made this beautiful lunch, and we sat down and we were off our phones for a little bit, and we just ate and spoke. And after that, we felt great.
Yeah.
But to give an example, like, I know in the last few days, I've caught myself a couple of times being too much on social media. And maybe like there's 30 minutes where you're not doing something, so you just kind of scroll through social media. And I noticed afterwards, just feeling a little bit like down on myself, or like,
Yeah.
not like maybe not depressed, but like
You just kind of low morale, I think.
yeah, low
not doing
morale.
anything.
Exactly. So if you go for a run and then you
Yeah.
feel great, do more of that. If you know, watch Netflix for 2 hours and it actually doesn't make you feel good, I'm not saying don't watch Netflix, but maybe like try to reduce the things that upset you and that you know that after you do it, you don't feel so good. This is the, like, one thing that you could take advantage of during this time. This is the time to perfect your self-discipline.
Yeah.
Like,
Good.
it's so much harder keeping to these things when you're not in a group.
Yeah.
Like, we work in a very ethical environment. It's very easy to keep you disciplined when you work in a group like that.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
you're on
that's
your
true.
own at home, this is the time to do these things and to stop doing the things that are upsetting you and do more of the things that make you feel good and happy and high morale.
I even
Yeah.
think, like, while we've got this time, like I've done it a few times, is to like dekludge, clean up your space. You know, sometimes, I mean, I'm like this because I literally can't work when it's like dirty in the flat. And that might sound a bit like over the top, but I love working if the air around me is really nice.
Yeah.
So like I'll
Makes
take
sense.
efforts to make sure that things are clean, so that if I want a cup of tea, there's a cup. You know what I mean? And so I think using this time wisely can give you so much back in the future, just because you've got steady framework, you know where everything is, and you're able to, once we get out of this, then you can be able to produce and achieve much more.
100%, bro.
Yeah, get
Yes.
organised. Like it. Like
And then
it.
So we gave you 3 ways to lessen the threat. They were find something that, the first one was don't read the newspaper. Find something that isn't being a threat, which is a process. You can look it up in the course. And the last one that we gave was knocking off things that upset one. I'd like to remind you, this is from there's 7 of them in this course. If you do the course, it's free, Scientology.org/courses. You can get a log on, just give your email address, and you can do all these courses for free. So, I'm going to end, I think we're wrapping up, yeah?
Yeah.
Wrapping up. I'm going to end with a quote right at the end of this course, which I love, and I think it gives a positive spin on things right now. The article is called The Real World. He says, "The world simply must not be a better place according to the chaos merchant. And so long as politicians move upward on scandal, the military establishment gets fatter on more war, and the media profits from the spread of bad news, there will continue to be those who thrive on chaos. But this is the created world, not the real world. Behind all this upset and disturbance, there exists a calmer environment. It is one which man can live and feel better. A world where people do heroic deeds and neighbors help each other and people overcome vast odds to excel."
So true.
very good.
And we've seen that recently.
I feel uplifted.
But
Nice.
you've seen it, guys. I mean, like,
Yeah.
leave us examples in the comments. What have you seen over the last couple of weeks of people being heroic, neighbors being heroic? I've seen it.
Yeah.
Like the NHS, they keep going to work despite the dangers they might have.
Yeah.
Everyone around, like, it's not easy
Yeah.
for people to stay at home. But you know, in this country, there's 65 million or 70 million people, and as far as I can see, the majority of them are at home. And
Yeah.
despite financial stress, despite whatever other stress, they're doing it, not even just to protect themselves, but to protect the people that are vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it just shows how good people are. And I think, again, behind all this upset and disturbance, there exists a calmer environment. It is one in which man can live and feel better. A world where people do heroic deeds and neighbors help each other and people overcome vast odds to excel.
Absolutely.
Anything else you guys
Hashtag be heroic.
all this self-isolation, all these notes. We got a note through the door. Some of our friends are doing it, going around giving notes to people. Being like, if you're in self-isolation, I'll give you a call.
Oh
I'll get your shopping.
There's a
for
notice
you, Get your
downstairs.
medical thing. Over 500,000 people signed up for the voluntary thing.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, you signed up for it as well, didn't you? And like, there's so many people. Just people wanna help. It's not true that everyone is against each other.
Yeah, agreed.
Not true.
So guys, in summary, first and foremost, stay healthy, stay safe, follow your government's advice, because definitely in England it's been very good advice, and we want to stick to it and help our community.
Yeah.
But also please try to use what we've taught today, and if you're interested, like I say, log on to the course, Scientology.org/courses, and then you can learn everything and you get feedback, you've got a supervisor and everything. But I hope you found this helpful. Leave us feedback. We've never done this before. This is our first time, right?
Never done that.
First time on a Facebook Live. So we'd love your feedback in the comments. And if you're on YouTube right now, because I think we're going to upload this to YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Guys, we'll be doing a lecture like this every day. If you guys like it, if the feedback's good, we'll do a lecture like this every day. It might not always be us. We're probably going to Zoom call and get a couple of special guest speakers involved. None of us have children, for example, so maybe we'll do like raising children.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, with a good mummy.
With a good mummy, a good parent. So yeah, love your feedback. Thank you so much for everyone watching. I can see there's people liking and commenting.
Yay.
Really appreciate the feedback, and see you guys soon. Let me get to it. If there's any questions, by the way, guys, I'm going to try to get to them, but I can't see. Sorry, this is probably... Oh, we've been on for 40 minutes, guys.
Woo!
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Rahila, for commenting. Thanks, Parole. Thanks, Mum. Okay, I can't see the comments because a lot of it just says, we'll send hearts to make up for it. Thanks. Okay, guys, we're going to upload this to YouTube later. If you do have comments, post them, and we'll get around to them. I'll answer in the comments themselves. So, hope you found this useful. We'll bring you one every day if you did. Love you guys. Bye.